نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear brothers and sisters, I hope you're all well. I hope you're all in the best of health and iman. I hope Ramadan is going well for you all. Now today, joining me online, I have a very special guest, Brother Abdul Wahab, aka UK Apache, the former reggae and jungle artist, the former music star. Now, alhamdulillah, Brother Abdul Wahab, aka UK Apache, has now left that lifestyle of music and fame. And as we're all aware, music is not permissible. It's not permissible in our religion, the deen of Islam. And for that very reason, Brother Abdul Wahab has left that lifestyle. Alhamdulillah. So in this interview, we'll be delving into what made Brother Abdul Wahab leave that lifestyle of music, money, fame, and everything else that lifestyle includes. So inshallah, we're going to connect to Brother Abdul Wahab, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa salatu wa salam ala rasulullah amma ba'd.
Inshallah. First and foremost, let's say may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for giving us your time and joining us here today.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Okay, so how's Ramadan going for you so far?
Alhamdulillah, Ramadan is good. Yeah, it's obviously it's a different Ramadan than the rest, in the sense of like in the world situation of today and the lockdown and being isolated and stuff, and obviously not like previous Ramadans where we've all met up in the masjid and we're praying Tarawih together. Now we're doing our own stuff, ibadah. But alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala
very different this year, but alhamdulillah, we will get by. Now we're going to get straight into this, inshallah.
Yeah.
Not going to waste any time. So
I know you're dying to.
So before we go into what made you change, what made Abdul Wahab, aka UK Apache, leave the music scene, we're going to rewind all the way back, and we're going to go into what was it like for yourself growing up, your childhood, your heritage, because I am of the understanding that you come from quite a rich heritage, mashallah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Basically, I came from a very strange combination of parents, not them individual, but their nationalities. My mum was South African Indian. South African Indian. May Allah bless her soul, because she died 11 years ago. Ameen. And my father is still alive, and he's Iraqi Arab. And how they met was a strange thing, because they both met in the UK due to circumstances. Well, my dad came over to study motor mechanics. He's a car engineer, designer actually. And my mum, she came over from South Africa because they had no choice really, due to the apartheid system. My grandmother and my grandfather were involved in the struggle against the apartheid system at that time with the ANC. And my grandmother was Nelson Mandela's first secretary. Just a bit of brief background about that, a long time ago in South Africa, they had the apartheid system, which was a racist system, which they had the white people by color, the white people at top, and in between the Asians and the coloreds, which were mixed, and at the bottom were the Africans. So there was a movement coming together called the African National Congress, which are now in power. And after this system got destroyed, and Nelson Mandela was the leader for that party and that movement. And as everybody knows him, he's passed away now, but as a great example and a great freedom fighter, because I think he spent about at least 23 years in jail, or was it 26? I'm not sure. And my grandmother at the beginning was his first secretary, and my grandfather was involved in that. So they knew about struggle and revolution and stuff like that. So they got kicked out of the country, and then my mum was here. My dad and mum met. They married. I was born here. Then I was taken to Iraq as a little boy, as a baby. But unfortunately, it didn't work out. My mum came back, and I was raised with my mother, my grandfather, and my grandmother. And my mother never married again, and I never saw my father. At the beginning, first of all, I had a lot of white friends, and at that time, it used to be very racist as well.
Yeah,
yeah. And and that used to go on. And then I met some Jamaicans, my friend who lived down the road, and I actually felt very connected to them for some reason. Allahu Alam, God, Allah knows best who He puts you with. Yeah. And not having no brothers and sisters, because my mum didn't remarry, so I was a single child, I would take anybody who was close to me like a brother, or any female that's like a sister. So so I started to learn about Jamaican culture and stuff like that. And then at that time as well, there was a lot of, that we used to watch TV and stuff. And on TV, there was a music program called Top of the Pops. and stuff. I don't know, you probably don't know, but you're still a young. But at that time, that used to be like the X Factor, whatever they call it now. Yeah, stuff like that. So they had this thing, and then you know, there was like at that time, my mum used to have kind of like there was music in the house, but not too much, but a little bit here and there. So alhamdulillah, she was learning about the religion as well and the deen, and so I used to watch this thing and used to see all these like stars and stuff and thinking, wow, you know, this is interesting. And reggae music as well used to have always like a message, you know, used to have, so it's at that time used to have like if you take the music out, the words used to be very positive, you know, and talking about justice and freedom and, you know, doing right and living good and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I attracted to it, you know, coming from that type of people. And I thought, well, this may be the way, you know, to reach the people, you know. And then I found out like I had a kind of a semi-okay voice, and I started to you know, actually imitate the Jamaicans to a point. I used to walk like a Jamaican, talk like a Jamaican, dream like a Jamaican, eat like a Jamaican. But I wasn't a Jamaican, I was a Jamaican. And I think that's what you find in many things, actually, what people try to do. You know, we have it in our nature to imitate.
Yeah.
You know, we look for role models, and because I didn't really have a father figure, my grandfather was like a male figure, but he was too old, you know, for me to really connect to. And all my family, I think my mum as well, my grandmother, they were too. There was a distance, you know, they weren't something I could look to. So I used to look to friends and to music artists as role models and stuff. And like I said, I would imitate them and stuff like that. So I got involved in that from like a teenager age as well, you know, and started to listen to them, imitate them. And then I realized I met some other real Jamaicans, like, because the first Jamaican guy I met, he was born here, and his father was a real Jamaican, but he had the culture, but he wasn't proper like born in Jamaica. Then I met some real Jamaicans, like from Spanish Town, these parts of Jamaica, from St. Mary, and that's a place of Jamaica as well, and they were real Jamaicans. So now I'm really with, you know, networking. I think from a young age, you know. And the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, if you know your friends are the ones, you know, if you want to see somebody, look at their friends, you know. So you can, you know, if you've got good friends, you know, and the right people, then this is the type of things you're going to become and imitate and stuff like that. Okay. So I used to, you know, they were real Jamaicans, and they used to love me because the thing they were the Jamaican, the real Jamaican. They really embraced me and took me on, and you know, and loved the way I was kind of imitating them, but they just looked at me as them, you know, and my skill of what I'd done in the vocally and stuff, you know. Even though saying that, I had many kind of like maybe signs of my voice in primary school, because I do recall there was a play that we was told to get involved in, and it was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Right. I don't know if you know about this play. It's a play about Yusuf alayhi salam. Okay, stuff like but they did this plays. So I remember that when everybody was getting chosen. This is in primary school. I think I was about 6 or 5 or something, and everybody was getting chosen to be a part of this play. You know, some of the pharaohs, some of the horses, some of the characters, some of the brothers of, you know, some of Jacob. You know, I have to sing this song, "Close Every Door to Me," and I remember singing it, and then I forgot the words. So halfway through the performance, I was like, but I mean, from that was like a performance as well, and it was you know, it was something that maybe inclination that I'm going to use my voice for something, you know. Alhamdulillah, maybe as well that inshallah that I will, you know, inshallah become more religious, inshallah, or follow the path, you know, as well, not just become an artist, you know. And back to so when I, you know, then obviously my when I was a teenager, my whole mission was to make it in the music industry, to portray a message, you know, and but what comes around with that, and all that thing, is the vices that come with it, you know, the parties they go to, the free mixing, the alcohol is there, and you know, and then get involved in the Rasta religion, because I even became Rasta at one stage. I thought this is the way, this is the path. Even though my mum was trying to teach me about the deen, I was rebellious a bit, and I wanted to look into many things. Though she didn't force it on me, but she said, "Okay, I know you're going to become a Muslim eventually. You know, you're going to follow this path, but you can look at everything else. You know, search if you want. You know." So I went into the church. I looked into, you know, Christianity. I looked into Judaism, what this was, and and as I actually had a job as well as a youth worker.
Right. Okay.
And in the youth work, and I worked for the Muslims. For their youth club, and I worked for the Sikhs as well, and I worked for the Christians. So in that, but at that time I was like I was concrete Muslim, you know, but it showed me about their religions as well, you know, because you have to go into their kind of temple, then you go to the back where they have the room separate where they have for their youth club, you know, and what you do, the activities. Yeah. So you know, I looked into many things, and one of the things was Rasta as well. And because it connected to the music, I thought this must be, because you thought, like, you look at the Rasta, you thought they must be righteous people. I'm not saying they're bad people, yeah, but obviously the path is not for us. You know, we don't believe in that path. And they have some good things, like many of these paths have good things, but they don't have obviously the whole picture that Islam is the correct way. Success came eventually. It came at a late success was when I was about 26 years old. Back in 1994, all that time I was trying to make it, doing performances, going from here, going there, because there wasn't internet that time. You can just go on the internet like we're now, and everybody sees you. No, you actually struggle, and you struggle from place to place, and you have to perform live in front of people. It's not, and some roughneck people, when I say rough, some hardcore brothers, you know. Who look at you as me as an Asian, or whatever, I think, like, you know, they think, who's this Indian boy, or whatever. and I'm surrounded by, you know, predominantly, you know, Jamaicans, or, you know, British-born Jamaicans and stuff, and West Indians, and but I used to imitate them so well that a lot of them actually thought I was Jamaican Indian as well.
Right. Okay.
You know, but then, you know, the real ones can tell, you know, that you've got slight, you know, this English accent, or a little bit, or, you know, even though I've done really well in my accent and everything, they could tell, or they went my interviews, they could see that I'm not, because I would say, obviously, I'm half, you know, I'm born in England, but my mother's South African, and yeah, my father's Iraqi. So there was, you know, it wasn't easy, because if you perform in front of these people and you're not good, it's not like the X Factor where they push a button, they just throw a brick at your head. Yeah, they throw a brick at your head, yeah, or a bottle in your head, yeah, whatever they're drinking, and it's going to land in your head and probably cut your face or cut. So you have to be good. So even if they didn't like me, to be honest, right, after I came off the mic, they had to respect me.
Of course,
because my skill was perfected. You know, I perfected it every day. I practiced it, and I had a good memory. Allah Akbar. I mean, coming from the Arab side, probably, and not saying that not South Africans, they're very knowledgeable as well, the South Africans, mashallah. But the Arabs are known in it for memorization and stuff as well and stuff. So I guess I had that in my genes of memorizing. And I used to actually memorize my lyrics. I never write them down.
Really?
I'd memorize. Yeah. Well, you find most now, I think most artists, they have it on their phone and they read them off sometimes. I'm not saying writing down is not good. It's good because you get better words, you know. But it doesn't help you when performing and stuff. So I was already kind of conditioned to perform, because we used to have these sound system things as well, these massive sounds.
Right, okay.
And we used to carry them around, or put them in trucks, and they used to have big speakers and set them up in the park, set them up in parties, and sometimes you challenging each other.
Okay.
Or sometimes you're just playing by yourself anyway, and then you'll have the record, and you put the A side will have like the vocals, and the B side, which have the instrumental, you know what I mean? Right. And you just be performing. Yeah, so this is what I got into. Then what happened when I had the success after I got introduced to jungle and this kind of thing, and it released Original Nutter.
You just stop you right there, okay? Right, I'm just going to stop you right there. Right, now that you've released the Original Nutter track, you know, those who are alive at that time know that was a massive success. You know, that's what obviously it was worldwide. That's where your career was at its peak. So at this time in the music industry, when your career is booming, you hit the heights of fame. You know, what was life like for you in this time in the music industry? And you know, was you truly happy? You know, was you truly content? You know, having it all at this time. So.
Well, I'll be honest with you. My career never went good from the start. Okay. It never went good no, because as soon as I had the tune Original Nutter, I had problems.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah, as soon as that tune came, there was problems before that, but not like how they came. Because what happened when that tune came, it became so successful. It wasn't an anthem yet, like how it is now. It was an anthem because of the years. It didn't have the years behind it. Right. But what happened is that it was a big tune, and jungle was coming up. That music, nobody never knew about jungle, so only a few tracks were coming through in jungle, and one of them was mine. The other one was General Levy's track called Incredible, and basically, so I had this problem because I just had a success, but they wanted me to sign a deal for my album. Right. And I didn't sign it. Allahu Akbar. It's funny because every time something popped up in my career or on the road, something happened to stop it. And what happened is that I was feeling cheated from a lot of people around me. Everybody. My manager, I had arguments with him because I believe he cheated me, because he made me sign a deal for Nutter.
Right.
That I wouldn't say I wouldn't say yeah, he did. He suggested for me. He was my manager. He was meant to be looking out for me.
Yeah.
And he made me sign this deal that I believe up to today, even though I'm peaceful with him now, me and him have made peace, right? You know, and we got no problems. I just have to speak the truth, just in case if he sees this interview, he probably won't like it. But yeah, this deal I don't believe was just. You know, it wasn't correct. So the problem started straight from that deal. After that issue, then majors came to wanted to sign me for the album, and I didn't sign the album because I felt so confused about the one deal with the one track. I didn't release the next single, so I had all these problems already. And on top of all that, I was doing all the interviews and I was doing performing. I didn't have even time to sort out my business and everything. So there was a lot of headaches. So what I decided to do, I walked away.
Right. Okay.
By Allah's will. Yeah. So I didn't sign the deal.
Okay.
I was at the door of going through the fame, but I didn't go through it properly.
Okay.
I had all the gigs coming in. I had all this certain monies coming in. It wasn't a lot because the deal was waiting for me to get the money. So I didn't even get paid properly. A lot of people, this is the truth. Yeah. But the tune was doing what it had to do, yeah? And people see the music. They don't see what's really going on with the artist. Yeah. Yeah. So I had all this, and this is what I strive for, and this is what I thought was the ultimate success of doing my message and stuff like that, because it was always about the message. It wasn't about me directly. It was about the song that I want to reach people with some type of message. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah Akbar, saved me at that time, to be honest. And always, but I mean, at that time specifically, and maybe it was, you know, well, it was the best thing, you know, because, you know, exactly. And when I say maybe, I mean maybe in a sense of like to show me the way to do the proper message, you see, in the correct way, you know, which is probably now like some da'wah and learning the Quran. And so back, I mean, this is many years back, still, we're still in 1994. So I was going through a lot of stress.
Right.
Allah. I didn't turn to drugs because I wasn't a smoker. Yeah, that a lot of people couldn't believe, because they think when you become an artist you must smoke, and I didn't. And I didn't drink. You know, I don't say I didn't have fitna. I did have fitna, but I'm not going to go into all that. But I'm saying, you know, that wasn't my problems. You know, most of the fitna probably was woman. You know what I mean? There's for man as well, you know, in general, where the Prophet says that he fears for the ummah, and one's for the wealth, and one's for the nisa, you know, woman, you know, is a fitna upon men. So obviously that's a part of that industry, you know, and it was a part of everything, but in general it's pretty loose there, you know, in a sense, you know, it's more accessible, you know, and stuff like that. But so I said to everybody, I'm gonna walk away, and alhamdulillah, I focused on my faith from then, and that was really the beginning of my journey to the faith. But how it came as well is really weird. Is that one time I was in my house, and the tablighi, I'm not saying I'm tabligh, but they came knocking on the door, right? And you know, and my mum said to me that time when she was alive, I was with another brother called Dawood, alhamdulillah, became a Muslim, one of my best friends. She said, quickly, open the door. I said, who is it? And she goes, it's the tabligh. I said, no, I'm not. She goes, no, listen, come down. Because I was like, no, I don't want to open the door to them. Because I know what they're going to, you know, how they're going to go on. But I'm not, you know, alhamdulillah, I believed in Allah. I believed in the one God. But for us, to be honest, I didn't know much about it, even though Mum was trying to teach me. For us, it was like, as long as I do the Eid prayer once a year, yeah, my whole year is going to be blessed. You understand? Yeah, you know what I mean? At that time, I didn't know, back in 1994. So I opened the door and they said, oh, salam alaikum, brother. And I'm like, yeah, wa alaikum salam. And they goes, mashallah, where are you? And I said, I'm here. He said, no, we don't see you at the masjid. I said, oh, okay. He said, what's your name? I said, Abdul Wahab. He goes, mashallah, Abdul Wahab. So why don't you come to the masjid? I said, yeah, inshallah. He goes, he said, when you come in? I said, when do you want me? He goes, come now. I goes, now? He goes, yes, come now. I goes, oh. And I was trying to think of every excuse. And my mum's like, go with them. I'm like, oh, okay. So it's like, okay, we go with them. So I went with them, sat down in the masjid and stuff. And you know, and they give the bayan and stuff. So they said, oh, afterwards, which brother wants to go for 3 days? I said, oh, I go, brother, why didn't you go for 3 days? I said, 3 days? What's this 3 days? He goes, go on, take me for 3 days. I said, okay, I'll go for 3 days. So I went for 3 days, right? MashaAllah, we went there, you know, we learned some some understanding and sat down a bit and stuff. This is how the kind of the journey is.
Yeah.
Obviously, my mum's teaching me as well, but this really was like the start of it all, connected to a masjid. Huh?
I was planting the seed, sort of. That was getting you going.
Yes, this is the truth. I'm not saying I'm a tablighi, and I'm not saying I follow everything they're upon, but but mashallah, this is the truth. I can't deny. This is what happened to me. So, apart from my mum calling me all the time, and she's always talking to me about Allah, no doubt, my mum was giving me da'wah from day one, and telling me the true way and the right way. She was always giving me, Allah bless her, Ameen. But when you're young, sometimes you need to hear it from other people as well, and some inspiration. Maybe like today, this video may inspire somebody, inshallah, and make them start think, oh, you know what, I need to, make a change, inshallah. But so as I was in there, then after 3 days, the brother's like, yeah, mashallah, who wants to go for 40 days with me? No, this is my brother. No, Jazakallah. Jazakallah. I'm not saying 40 days is bad, but it was like, that was enough for me. And then I used to start, attend the masjid, and on a regular basis, alhamdulillah. And since kind of then, I've never stopped. And so but saying that, I was still involved in music at that time.
Okay.
So it was like, I was still involved, thinking, okay, maybe I can change up my music and do more Islamic stuff. Okay. Even though my music never had really bad words in it. Yeah. Like there's a few that was debatable, but generally all my music had this message in it, So if we took out the beat and all that, which people have debated, and obviously the place where you're doing it, then you got the words. Yeah. So the words, were predominantly good about, live right, do good, and all this kind of thing. But I was still thinking, okay, maybe I can do some music with more of a Islamic. So I told the media and I told people that I've changed my name. When I say change my name was Abdul Wahab. I was born with that name, Abdul Wahab. But I want to use that now for stage and all that kind of thing. Thinking and this is how the change is coming, I still haven't really studied about the music and the little, I don't know much about it yet. But I'm thinking this is what I can do. As you find some big artists, they come into the straight away, and sometimes they leave it, and then they go back and, may Allah protect us. And sometimes they just think they can still do the music, but they, like that. But, it's early days. So I didn't know, I didn't have the understanding of what's really permissible and what is not, and what's debatable. So I went and and the record, I grew my beard at that time as well. I had a big beard, and the record company said, this guy's gone mad. Yeah, they thought I was mad, and no one would touch me. No one, like I said, we went to a different place because I left. I split up with my manager. I had another guy who was kind of managing me, but he wasn't a proper manager of music. He was more of a manager of something else. So I trusted him more than having somebody professional that I didn't trust. So we started to go on the road of trying to do this thing. And what happened, Allahu Akbar, is in that time, I said to my mum, you know what, let's go to Hajj. Let's do Hajj. I want to go Hajj, and I think it'd be good for you, mum, as well. And she said, yeah, it's be good, And we arranged it, and by Allah, obviously, we had the intention. Allah arranged it that we went Hajj. So I went Hajj not too long after the original night I came out, unbelievably. Yeah. At the time when they first had that, even that story alone, there's a lot to talk about. I mean, because the Hajj was an amazing experience, and something happened there as well. That a campfire happened, and I lost my mum for a few days, thinking that she died in Hajj. Even Hajj was an amazing, even that alone, I could talk about that. But that's another thing. I don't want to go too much in, but even that was, and the day that I went, actually, we managed to get on the day that I was born was the day that we flew to Hajj. So even that was a great thing. I'm not saying we celebrate birthdays, but my mum said to me, do you know the day you're going? I said, no. I said, on the day that you're born, that's the day we're going. I said, subhanallah, and we arrived there, and there was a campfire. At that time, the canisters, one of the gas canisters blew out, and we lost all the women in our group, and my mum was with them, and we lost them for 3 days or 2 days. So I had to do the Hajj first a lot by myself, and my mum done it as well. And then later, alhamdulillah, by Allah's will, I actually thought she died. I wanted to go home straight away, to be honest. And one of the brothers who was with me, and I went with one sheikh. I can't remember the sheikh's name, Sheikh Bilal, but he's very recitation. I remember for his recitation as well. I think he teaches in one of the masjid and one of the schools of Dulum Islam or something. Bilal. He's a short guy with bald head. Well, he shaved his that times because he's very short. He's got a very deep recitation. You may know him anyway. But anyway, he came with us as well, mashallah. And another student of Al Madina Masjid came as well, from Medina, from Mecca, yeah. So well, Medina, in Medina, the University of Medina, Ummi, I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, he was a student from there as well. He studied hadith, so he was on the trip. Allah Akbar. But that time I didn't know anything much about. I didn't know the Arabic. I didn't know as what I've done over the years now, or no. But alhamdulillah, that was a time Allah chose for me. I love to go again now with a bit of the little bit of knowledge I've got now. But that was a time, and I went with my mum. Eventually, my mum came in after not seeing her for 3 days or 2 days. I had to, you got Mount Arafat, and and the finding of the stones and all the locations you have to go. I was calling my mum with one of those callers out, and I couldn't find her. When I went back to the hotel after that, then she actually walked in. Allahu Akbar. I was in tears. I couldn't believe it, and she got protected by 2 workers there. They looked after like she was their mother, and she came with all the bags as well. She wasn't well as well. She suffered from diabetes. I said, "Mum, you carried these bags." She actually walked. She actually done the Hajj better than me. Honestly, I said, Allahu Akbar. But we done the last part. We done the tawaf around the Kaaba. I pushed her in the wheelchair around there and stuff. Alhamdulillah. So it ended off. It was an amazing trip. That was another whole experience, you know. But yeah, I managed to do that as well straight afterwards. But then still involved in the music.
Right.
Until what happened is I studied more and more and more. Then I realized, subhanAllah, and I could see many things, and it was getting into me that, because what I did, even though I didn't sign the deals and stuff,
Right.
you know, I still performed. I still had work to perform and stuff, and I was releasing a few other tunes and stuff. And I started to work with another band as well, and it became quite successful, and stuff. I found it myself that, you know, I knew this. I was always making dua, yeah, Allah, make a way out for me. You know, because it became my, you know, how Shaitan gets you about money and all this kind of thing. And because I wasn't really qualified to do nothing else, I had other jobs, many jobs before I became into the music industry. But I knew that those jobs, I got sacked from every single job that I did because I wanted to do the music thing. Yeah. You know, I was really focused on that. So I was always making dua, ya Allah, make a way for me out, make a way for me out. Because you get attached to it, you get attached, you're thinking that you're not going to find no other work. Yeah. You're paying your own rent, because that time I wasn't living up mine. I had my own accommodation and stuff like that. And yes, so what happened, Allah knows best. My mum, she was sick with diabetes, and one day she had to go to the hospital, and they found out that she had cancer.
Right.
So yeah, and then they gave her 3 months to live. Because basically, yeah, so they gave her, 3 months to live, but she lived for 1 year. Allah Akbar. So when that came, and I found out, that they couldn't cure this type of cancer, though we know there's the cure for every type of disease except one, which is death and old age. The Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was asked, who should I honor after Allah and you? And he said, your mother. And the man asked again, your mother. And the man asked again, your mother. And then on the 4th time, he said, your father. So we can see the status, and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says many times in the Quran, Surah Luqman as well, as he advised his son and talks about, the status of the mother or the parents, and even if they ask you to do shirk, don't follow that, but still treat them with kindness. These are all in the verses. So I was there with my mum, for that 1 year, and watching her, as she had the cancer, and going to the hospital for the chemo treatment and stuff like that, and being there, and all the sickness, and washing her, and many times, how she's sick in a bucket, and had to clean it out, and through the middle of the night I would be doing this for the whole year. It didn't matter, because my mum, to me, she was the light on the earth. Obviously, apart from the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who's the greatest of creation, she came next, and we can never repay our mothers, never, and the conversations that we had was, nothing can match them. you know, and the time, and then, you know, and then you realize, and then when I was at my mum's bedside, because I was there when she died in the hospital, and basically we planned for her to die in the house, but it was a blessing that she died in the hospital actually. And where I live actually is 2 minutes away from the hospital.
Okay. Okay.
So we had a bed in the front room anyway, a proper, you know, those medical beds, which helps people who are suffering from these type of fatal diseases and stuff. And she used to have a lot of nosebleed. So when she had this major nosebleed, we called the ambulance and then we took her into hospital. And they said, you know, it doesn't look like she'll be coming out. They informed her and she informed me. I said, okay, Mum, alhamdulillah, the time has come. And it's weird because you think, you always have this feeling, I don't know, I've always had these feelings that, well, one day my mum's not going to be here, or my father, you know, and you think, wow, you know, what a day that's going to be, you know, or where's going to happen, or am I going to be there, or what, you know. And Allah blessed me so much, because I could have been a person just traveling around the world performing, because when I was gigging as well, I had to travel everywhere. You know, even though I had problems with my main success, I was doing other stuff and I was still getting work, and I was traveling the world everywhere, you know, from Singapore to Japan to France to Germany I've been to places I can't even tell you what the name of them is. I couldn't even tell you, but I used to sit there as well, and I used to pray that time as well. I was praying but still involved in so I knew there was time to move on, you know. But this thing made me move on, this great test that Allah gave me, and great lesson.
Sorry to cut you. So the death of your mother, that was the actual turning point that actually made you leave the music scene completely.
Completely. So what happened? Yes, I didn't look. As I'm looking after, I said to Allah, okay, I'm going to look after my mum. You know, you've given me this big blessing, and oh Allah, make me strong. I'm not going to go back. And I deleted everything. I just cut everything off, like any Instagram, any Facebook, I just cut it off. Yeah, no one could contact me. No one, you know, no one could see me. You know, they only saw me after my mum passed away, but by me doing da'wah videos. And not even from me. You know what I mean? In a sense, like, you know, I didn't even have those things till later on. Actually, I just let people do their own thing, because no matter what you do, like yourself, you're filming me now. I don't have to have my own stuff. It will just go out if Allah wills it, and it will spread if Allah wills it. You know, by Allah's means. And so when I was in the hospital with my mum, and we went, and she, you know, she was on her last breaths and stuff. You know, I asked her a few questions. She could still just about speak. I said, you know, I said to her this before, but I said to her, oh Mum, do you forgive me for anything that I've done? And she said, son, I forgive you. Do you know what? I looked in the heavens and Allahu Akbar. Can you imagine? There's people who their mum has passed away and they've never even asked them that question, or even had the chance to be with them, or even, and they've had arguments with them. They don't even speak to their mum. There's Muslims that do that. Muslims, they think they got the right to even have that honor to not speak to their mother. And I understand, it's not easy. They make every shaitan excuse, not their own fault maybe, but shaitan is whispered to them thinking they can never talk to their mother, right? You can't because she's done this or she's untalkable. Rubbish. You've got to talk to your mother. I don't care who you are, Muslim or non-Muslim. You've got to talk to your mother, and you've got to forgive, right? If you think that you are even on a level to ask for your mum to ask your mum to forgive you, because I don't believe that we are. I don't care what your mum has done to you or not. The status in Islam that your mum's got, she's better than you, better than all of any child. Your mother's better than you. Your mother's better than you. It doesn't matter who you think you are and what she's done. Your mother's better than you, because you cannot imagine, you know. And that goes from what Allah says. Even look what Allah says in the Quran. Even if they're a disbeliever, you have to honor them. Look at that. Even a non-Muslim, they believe in shirk, or they believe in, you've got to honor them. And it doesn't matter how they carry on. You've got to honor them. So I asked my mum, do you forgive me? And she said, yes, son, I forgive you. I said, Allahu Akbar. What more? My heart, it was weird. My heart was happy and also sad, because I'm seeing my mum die in front of me. And then what happened? She's breathing, and she puts her hands up. And my wife was with me at that time. She was with me, and she said, she wants you to cover her up. She's cold. I cover up. And then she goes, no, she wants you to take off the blanket. I said, okay, because obviously we're panicking, because now we can see this is the last moment. So you don't know what to do. You know, you don't know what to think. And I took off the cover, and she raised her hand. And I'm telling you, by Allah, as Allah is my witness, when we looked at each other in our eyes, right? It's like she spoke to me without no words, and I froze. Wallahi Adeem, I don't know how to explain this. I've said this on different interviews, and I say sincerely, that she spoke to me. It's like everything went blank. Everything went blank. I could have been in a football stadium. I could have been in the most noisiest place. I heard nothing, and I heard nothing. And her eyes said to me, "It's okay. They've come. It's fine. It's okay." Wallahi, I don't know what that meant, but the way after what happened, the things that happened after this made me feel that Allah accepted her. And I'm going to tell you why. Because what happened afterwards, now this happened on 2009, December the 31st, New Year's Eve, in the hospital. Now I want to tell you, when she died, I looked up out of the window, because she was on the top floor of the hospital in a separate bed. She wasn't in her own place, private, so we just had the curtains run. Yeah, it was in the ward of that cancer place. It was a cancer ward, and people knew that these things are going to happen. They put the curtains. I looked up. Obviously, I said, "Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un." From Allah we come, to Allah we return. Yeah, but in English I said it at that time. I didn't even know it in Arabic at that time. Yeah, and then I recited. I didn't know what was right or wrong, but I recited Ayatul Kursi. I don't know if that's probably not the right thing to do but I just recited it for some reason. But what happened after that? The burial of my mother was amazing, because rightfully, to be all honest, because of the day and the scenario where she was, right? If she was in the house, we would never ever been able to bury her so quick. We buried her the next day. And how it happened, people said, "How did you manage to bury your mum on New Year's Eve the next day?" Because to bury somebody, first of all, you've got to get her signed out by the doctors. They were in the hospital. If we were in the hospital, can you imagine? You can't go to the hospital on New Year's Eve in a sense unless you're sick. But if you're dying, you have to wait. If she was in the house, she'll have to wait. Look at this. The doctors came. They signed her. Okay. Then they took her downstairs, or they tried to take her to the morgue. Look at this, right? I phoned my brother that was with me, mashallah, his brother in Islam, brother Musa. May Allah bless him. I mean, he helped me so much things, right? We phoned the council. Can you imagine? It's just after Asr, right? So it's coming to Maghrib now. Yeah. On the Thursday, the next day is Yawm al-Jum'ah. So my mum got buried on Yawm al-Jum'ah. She didn't die on Yawm al-Jum'ah. Council, now you have to understand, this is New Year's Eve. Everybody's gone home, except the man answered the phone, said, "We've got one person that wait for you. Look at this." I said, "Allahu Akbar." We arrived there. It's all dark except one door's open like this. Everybody's gone home. One door's open like this. And we walked in. This woman, she was a Rasta type woman. I said, "Oh, thank you." She said, "No problem, no problem." Because my mum told me before as she knows she's going to die, she made it clear what to do. Yeah, she gave me the understanding of what to do. You have to get the papers, you have to do this, you have to do, to be prepared. Allah, may Allah bless her. She was so organized, and she loved people as well. That's another thing. Anyway, and people loved her. I'm not just saying because she's my mother. I'm telling you, she gave me this. She was the one that taught me about dawah as well. Anyway, it's because she done lots of it. So we went in there, we got all the paperwork. We got it, and come back. They tried to take my mum down to the morgue, and they brought her back up because they didn't have one other thing to sign. Then that person came and signed. Because of the lateness of that person, they took her back up. She was up. She wasn't even in the morgue. By that time, the man from the janaza who was ready, he was outside already waiting for her. This is my mum's burial. They took her through the morgue. She didn't even wait. This is Allah saying, "I'm going to take your mother in such a way that nothing will stop this janaza." Watch this. They took her through the morgue, because you're not even allowed to go through the morgue because they think you're going to get emotional. Yeah. So we waited outside. We collected my mother's body, took her straight to the masjid. And they washed her. The sisters washed her. You know what the sisters said? They said, "What did she die from?" Because she didn't even look. When my mum died, she had hair on her head. Yeah. She lost a little bit of weight, but she said she doesn't even look like she died from cancer. She looks so good. They washed her. The next day, Yawm al-Jum'ah, Salat al-Fajr, I went to the masjid and they done the janaza. Just that. Because I read upon my answer when just let me look at her face. She was smiling, wallahi adim. She had a smile on her face. I was like, look at that. Now, we buried her. We're from London.
Yep.
From London. I'm in London. And the place we buried it is the Gardens of Peace. I don't know if you've heard of that cemetery. It's quite a famous one in London. It's about, in a normal day's drive, it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on traffic. Because it was the 1st of January in the morning, there was no traffic on the road. It just went like this all the way, just straight to the janaza. And I was the first one. She was the first one to be buried. And the brothers, mashallah, they allowed me to bury her myself. Most of the I've done it myself for my mother. And then the people said, how did you, I said, this is qadr Allah. Because my mum used to take Qur'ans to people. When I went afterwards to sort out business in the bank, people were crying, non-Muslims. They were crying. Literally said, your mum used to sit down with us and talk to us like we're human beings. And she loved to talk like I can talk myself. Allah Akbar. She talked and she used to give da'wah. She used to sit. Even that's how I met the brother that done Roadside to Islam. Do you know that I was one of the first people he interviewed?
Abu Bakr.
Yes, Abu Bakr. He met me and he knew about my mum because my mum used to go and give people Qur'ans. She would go in the market and say, take this Qur'an and take it. And she used to tell me to give Qur'an. And I was very naive. I said, Mum, why do you want to give people Qur'an? She goes, don't ask me. Just give them this Qur'an because they wanted to read it. And I was thinking, why? Like, I was that time, I wasn't clued up. But I realized, they said, your mum is the mum of salam. She'd salam people. I said, look at that, subhanallah, right? She taught me. And the people, when they found that she cried, that she died, they were crying. They said, we never met somebody who was so, caring. Like, I said, that's my mum. I know that from there. That's my mum because she was a nurse. Then I sat down and said, subhanallah, look at that. Because when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes something, it's not like me and you. Like today, I could send something to your house. And if you're alive, you send it back. I don't really, I'm going to take it or not. You give it back to me. Yeah. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes life, that's it. Mm-hmm. It's not coming back. So I advise everybody, and even myself, with any relative, my dad's still alive, he's in America, even though he wasn't with me through my life. He's my father and I respect him, and I call him and I don't talk about any issues of the past and stuff like that because that's done. That's not important. What's important that we honor our parents. And I advise anybody that, even with all family, it's difficult, but we should try to always keep the kinship as we know the greatness of that.
In regards to, how you left the music industry and you had all these issues, all these problems, and, you was never really truly content, how true happiness, sustained happiness is in the remembrance of Allah. That's why it's so vital that we build a firm connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So
definitely.
And, in regards to what you said about your mother's death, this is just obviously every one of us, regardless of our status, regardless of our gender, regardless of wherever we are in the community, whatever, every one of us is going to return to Allah. So it's correct, that we have, it's vital that we make the correct, obviously, preparations for our meeting with Allah. It's vital that we make the correct preparations for our meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is one thing that we've learned from this. And many people are searching for happiness, in money, in cars, in fame, and the list goes on and on and on and on. Your story has inspired many, hopefully will inshallah inspire many people.
Ameen, inshallah.
Before we obviously close this interview, inshallah, what the last message, what do you have for the people, those who are listening? What sort of message do you have for them, those who are chasing that sort of lifestyle, of the money and the fame, etc., materialism?
I know it's difficult. It's difficult, especially for the younger people. It's probably easier for an older person like myself. I'm an older person now. I've got experience. I've got patience. I'm not saying I'm free from it. I can slip anytime. But I'm saying I know it's difficult. All I'm saying is put your trust in Allah, and also your company is very important. The company you keep is going to influence you. Stay close to the masajid. Stay close to the good people, and know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forgiving as well. You will slip up. You're meant to be. We all slip up. But know you can always turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And know that the more you turn to Him, whatever you're doing, and we all have to turn to Allah and ask Him to correct us. All of us. None of us are free from that. Nobody. No.
I'm just going to end there, inshallah, the interview. Jazakallah khair for joining us and giving us an insight into, obviously, the life of the music industry and the way you are now. May Allah bless you always and bless your book. and bless us
Ameen.
as well. And
Ameen.
until next time, brothers and sisters, Assalamu
I just
alaikum.
want to say one thing. Sorry, whatever I said. Whatever I said that's evil comes from myself and my desires and the shayateen, because the big shaitan's locked up, so I can't blame him for this one. And whatever's good comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive me in my speech and forgive us, inshallah, and make this beneficial, inshallah, and a credit on Yawm al-Qiyamah, and a good deed for both of us, inshallah. And all the people that's watching, inshallah, may Allah bless you all. And have a good Ramadan, inshallah. Ramadan Kareem, inshallah.
Until next time, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.